So this is an example of using a pre-fader send. I've got my drum kit here, and then I've got an auxiliary send set up with a compressor on it. It's also got a decapitator, it's got a clipper, and it's got the TDR Nova EQ. But I'm interested mostly here in how my pre-fader send level is affecting the compressor and the decapitator. So the pre-fader send I've got set up is going to this drum parallel compression channel. And I'll open the compressors, the FET compressor and the decapitator. And I've got it set how I want it to be in terms of that send level going into each one of these plugins. And if I play it, you'll see the amount of gain reduction I've got going on, and you'll see the amount of air quote attitude going into the decapitator. Okay, so for the audience listening, that was just under 8 dB of gain reduction on the compressor, and I think the attitude was just under 0 on the VU meter there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to reduce the fader on the drum kit, and because it's in pre-fader, it's going to have no effect on the send level going to my parallel compression auxiliary channel. Thus, it's not going to affect the gain reduction on the compressor and the attitude in my decapitator. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to reduce the level of the drum kit, and once I get to right down to 0, well, once I've reduced the level all the way down rather of the fader, you'll only hear the parallel compression auxiliary send. So let's give it a go. I'm dragging the fader down, and just to describe those not watching it, it's not affecting the gain reduction on the compressor, and it's not affecting the attitude on the decapitator. So that's where I would use a pre-fader send. I've got everything set how I want with regards to gain reduction, with regards to the attitude on the decapitator, and I don't want any fader movements of my drum kit to affect that send level. So that's where I personally use pre-fader sends. So this is another little trick you can use with pre-fader sends. If you've got a vocal that you really want to push back and absolutely swamp in reverb and get like a really pronounced reverb effect, really push it back so it's really distant. I say really a lot there. You can do this. I've got this whole reverb and I've got it in pre-fader send. I've got my vocal at 0 on my channel strip here, and I've got my hall reverbs also at 0 as well. I'm using the Valhalla reverb. I love that reverb. I think it's so good. I've got a nice smooth plate reverb going on here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to reduce the fader of the vocal on this track, and it'll gradually just push it right back to the point whereby you've just got the reverb. So let's give it a go.
Feeling high by your side, our souls align.
I'm dragging it down.
Feeling high by your side, our souls align. Feeling high by your side, our souls align.
Now at the end there, it was left with literally just the hall reverb. So I mean, there's more than one way to do that, but this is just one way. So if you wanted to have that sudden effect in a song where you push the vocal right back, you could automate the channel volume just down so you can push the vocal back, and then that reverb is this then just swamping it. And that's using a pre-fader send. So this third example is now going to be using a post-fader send. And this is what I would usually do with a vocal or any instrument where I've got time-based processing and I'm bussing channels out to it, or tracks out to this auxiliary channel with this time-based effect. In this instance, it's the same vocal with the same hall reverb, but I've got it set in post-fader. And the way I've got it set is about -11, -12 in terms of send level going out to this hall reverb. But it's set so it's just complementing the vocal. In the entire mix, it's just sat underneath. And what I don't want to happen is, because I automate volume of vocal throughout a track, and I'll automate the volume of the send going to the reverb as well throughout the song. I use automation a lot. We're controlling performances throughout a piece. I'll be amazed if there's a song that has no automation, but correct me if I'm wrong. Anyway, so what I don't want to happen is, like I showed you in example 2, is that when I automate the volume down, that reverb then just swamps it. I want the reverb to kind of, like the level I've got and how it's set, to sort of not stick to, but it's, yeah, in a way it is. It's married to, it's sticking, it's relative. Let's say it's relative to the vocal track, the vocal volume. So you'll see what I mean. So I'm going to play it and I'm going to bring down the vocal track fader all the way to 0. And you'll hear the reverb as well will then diminish too. So let's give it a go.
Feeling high by your side, our souls align. Feeling high by your side, our souls align. Feeling high by your side.
There we go. You can see it's a much more balanced mix in terms of vocal and reverb compared to what it was before. So give it a go, folks. Switch between the two, see which one works for you. And like I said, with example 2, if you want that really pronounced effect to push an instrument back in the mix, maybe a pre-fade descend is the way to go. So there we go. 3 practical examples of using pre and post fade ascends. So just to summarize, personally, now everybody's different, right? But personally, I use pre-fader if I've got something like compression, some sort of dynamics going on, some sort of dynamic processing, right? And then I'll use a post-fade ascend for things like time-based effects or any other effects that I'm going to be applying to a track or some audio. To discover another practical example of using a pre-fade ascend, check out episode 125 of the podcast, What is Parallel Compression in Logic Pro? 3 compression settings for vocals, where I go through pre and post fade ascends again.